Generative AI tools like ChatGPT are so useful in so many ways, but they must be used carefully. Knowing how to use AI to enhance your criticality rather than replace it will be a key skill for students and knowledge workers in the 21st century. In this video, we'll take a look at the evidence to see whether AI use is damaging your critical thinking skills, and if so, what to do about it. Your brain is not a fixed object. It changes when you use it in different ways. This ability of the brain to shape and adjust its design and structure is called neuroplasticity. Think about learning a musical instrument. For the first few weeks of practice, you might struggle to produce beautiful sounds, playing slowly and awkwardly, like me. Your brain is not used to playing the instrument, so it requires more thought and care to strike each note. Yet through practice and dedication, the brain adjusts its synaptic pathways to better meet the demands of playing. Like any muscle, it responds to exercise, in this case through piano practice. Another famous example is that of London taxi drivers. If you're from London, you'll be familiar with these drivers' extraordinary knowledge of London's archaic road network. Unlike regular drivers who use Google Maps, London's taxi drivers are required to be able to navigate the ancient streets of the city with only their memory and knowledge to guide them. In a study done back in 2000, it was found that London cabbies had an unusually large hippocampus, a part of the brain essential for spatial memory. Their work memorising the streets of London and reinforcing these memories by driving them shaped their brains to better suit their needs. This is all very interesting, but why are we talking about London taxis? The key point is that we can shape and train our brains through how we act, what we do, and the tools we use. Generative AIs are just tools, for now, and how we use them can greatly affect your productivity, work, and most importantly, your critical thinking skills. Remember, as a graduate, if you want a top job, and your surname isn't Trump, you're going to have to be better than most candidates. This will mean being able to use AI tools, but also developing a sharp critical mind. The reverse is also true. Poor use of AI tools can damage or limit your critical thinking skills. 3 recent papers have addressed this issue. The first paper we'll look at is Gerlich, 2025. Gerlich investigated the effects of AI use on participants' critical thinking abilities. He found a negative correlation between frequent use of generative AI tools and critical thinking abilities. This was due to what he describes as cognitive offloading, passing the cognitively demanding tasks of critical thinking onto the AI tool rather than doing them yourselves. Because of this, participants were not getting practice in thinking critically, and so their brains were not being trained to think in that way. Because of this, the AI users in his study were more likely to continue to use AI rather than think for themselves. Gerlich found that those with a greater level of educational attainment showed stronger critical thinking skills. This could mean that training in critical thinking allows users of AI to do so in a way that supports and enhances their critical thinking skills. Secondly, a study by Li et al., undertaken for Microsoft, surveyed knowledge workers about their use of AI. They found that participants with higher levels of trust in AI responses showed less critical thinking, and those with higher levels of self-confidence were more skeptical of AI-generated claims. This suggests that a foundation in effective critical thinking is essential in order to be able to analyse and engage with AI content, but also that those with lower self-esteem were less likely to be critical, taking more AI text as read. There is a clear link between self-confidence and critical thinking. Developing your self-confidence, being more sure about your ideas and thought processes, goes hand in hand with becoming a more critical thinker. This link between self-confidence and critical thinking comes up in a third paper, Kosmyna et al., 2025. It's important to note that this is a draft paper and so has not yet been peer-reviewed, but it has created quite a buzz in AI and educational technology circles. Their study investigated the effects of AI-assisted writing on our brains. To do this, they gave a writing task to 3 groups. The first group wrote an essay without assistance. The second group could use a search engine to find information to help them. The third group used ChatGPT to generate ideas and content for their essay. Through brain scans, the researchers identified that the AI using group showed lower mental engagement with the task, poorer memory of the task, and had reduced critical thinking. This is another example of cognitive offloading, avoiding mentally taxing tasks and relying on AI to think for you. Because of this, the AI group produced work that was less critical or original than the other groups. As students, this would result in weaker grades. More crucially, this would prevent the kind of critical skills development that is needed for successful students and future knowledge workers. The researchers called this cognitive debt. AI makes tasks easy now, but at the cost of long-term cognitive development. There were several other important findings from this study. One is that AI users reported a reduced sense of ownership of their work. They saw it as only partially their work. This alienation from your own work can reduce motivation and results in missing out on the joy of producing excellent work. Secondly, task sequence matters. Students who wrote text by themselves and then had AI read it for feedback showed much stronger mental connections than those who started with AI. Using AI as a feedback tool seems to be much more effective than using it as an ideas generator. The overall message is simple. Poor AI use can negatively affect your critical thinking skills. However, there are several strategies you can use to avoid this, and we'll go through those now. 1. Train your brain. Recognize that the brain is a muscle. It develops by thinking and doing difficult things. AI is a tool that can do difficult things for you, but you'll pay the price in the long run with a brain that's less critical and less able to think deeply. Secondly, think first and then use AI to respond. AI works best when it works as a discussion partner, as a critical friend, and a devil's advocate. Don't ask it to think for you, ask it to challenge you and make you think more deeply. Or even better, ask another human being to do this. Finally, be confident in your own ideas. If you're confident in your own critical thinking, you may be better at using AI in a more critical way. So, does AI damage your critical thinking skills? Early evidence suggests that it can, if you use AI to think for you. Critical thinking is a skill that requires practice, effort, and engagement. Through the act of critical thinking, your ability to think critically is strengthened. It's hard, but it needs to be done. If you offload your critical thinking to an AI, you will, as Kosmyna et al. Put it, pay a long-term debt in terms of weaker critical thinking skills overall. Tomorrow's students will use AI tools like critical friends and collaborators, using AI to develop, test, and strengthen their own ideas. It looks like AI tools can be very effective as feedback and discussion partners, building on existing knowledge and thoughts. However, it's early days still, and there is a lot of research that still needs to be done.